So you know how sometimes when you're out and you're shooting your cinematic videos or your cool B-roll, and sometimes you kind of just can't think of interesting and creative shots and you have like a little bit of a creative block. It's great to have all of those extra shots like in the back of your mind that you know. So in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about 5 creative cinematic shot ideas that I really enjoy getting and 5 that I keep in my arsenal at all times. So whenever I'm out there and I'm struggling to think of a good shot, I can fall back onto one of these and get a shot that I know is gonna look good. Instead of just like telling you guys what the shots are and playing B-roll over them, I want to actually show you guys the shots and how we're capturing them. So it's going to be one of those more like raw style videos where we actually demonstrate how we're getting the shots. Huge thank you to Storyblocks for sponsoring this video and allowing us to create the content that we do, but more on that later. First shot that we're going to be getting is a wraparound shot, and I'm going to be using a gimbal for this shot. I'm using the Weebill S, but you do not need to use a gimbal for this. You can definitely do it handheld as long as you try and just get some nice stable shots while you're doing it. I'm going to use this gimbal because I really want to get the full effect of the shot for this demonstration, and we're going to be using Hannah over here as our subject. And the way that I want to do this is having Hannah almost standing still. You can do this with a walking subject as well. It just might be a little bit more tricky, especially if you guys are handheld. And then the shot is going to be of the camera almost like doing a circle around her and showing where she is. I am going to start like behind her and do the full 360 wrap around back to behind her. And I'm just going to get her to look up a little bit. That's going to create even more of the feeling of like discovery and like that exploration type of feeling. And this shot is perfect to further push that narrative. So let's give this one a go and see how it looks. Something that I really like about this shot is that if you do a good job at it and you keep your subject relatively in the center or in the same part of the frame, the background rushes past really fast, and it's known as a parallax effect. And it creates this really cool feeling where that background is rushing around your subject and they're just still there in the center. Definitely one of my favorite camera moves to do, and definitely one I think you guys should have in your arsenal of creative cinematic shot ideas. I think a lot of the time it's easy to overcomplicate your shots and think that the more crazy and complicated and complex the shot is, the better it's going to be, and that is not always the case. So for our second shot, we are just going to be doing a simple follow shot. We have this really nice bridge behind us with these lines going in, creating leading lines and symmetry, and I think that's going to work well if we have Hannah walking down this bridge and I'm going to be tracking from straight behind her. I'm going to keep the gimbal on for this shot, but once again, you do not need the gimbal. I just want to use it to demonstrate the full effect of this shot. I'm going to try and keep at about hip level, right in the center, so I can maximize the effect of those leading lines coming in to that vanishing point behind her. Go for it. A situation that I love to use this type of shot is maybe towards the beginning of a little cinematic section. It creates that anticipation of having that person going somewhere or heading to a location. It has a bit of a nice build up and a flow to it, and you can add a couple of extra little movements to this, maybe even to use it as your opening shot if you have it as a bit of a reveal shot, and you can start your camera movement either looking down and slowly pan up while you have that tracking movement, or even from looking up into the sky or something of interest above you and slowly panning down onto your subject as they're walking away. I really love how this shot just creates a bit of an anticipation feeling. You are following your subject, you're not sure where they're going. It creates a bit of a story. You can use this as a build up for your subject to get to a bit of a location and have a bit of a payoff there. It's a really nice way to create a bit of a flow that goes through your edit and creates nice movement and linear flow in it. So really a great shot, and definitely one of my favorite ones to get especially towards the beginning of my B-roll edits. For this next shot, the idea is to get a really tight close-up detail shot of something like Hannah's hand. You can get as creative as you want with this, but the idea is to get that really tight shot and track the movement of that subject, which we are going to be using Hannah's hand for. So what we're going to be doing is having Hannah's hand running down this like fern thing here, and I'm going to be getting as tight as I possibly can and filling as much of the frame with Hannah's hand as I can, and then adding some really nice movement and tracking that hand as she moves it. This is gonna work really well if you pair this shot with something like a wider shot, showing like that full person, and then cutting to that really close-up detail shot of the hand or whatever you decide to pick as your subject for this shot. This one might take a couple of tries. Have fun with it, be patient, and see what different movements you can get and incorporate into it. Okay. This one's a little bit tricky, and it definitely took me a couple of tries to get it right, but if you can just do it a few times and really try and time that movement right with the person that's moving whatever you're tracking, eventually you'll get a really nice one, and I think we ended up getting a nice one for that one. These are great shots to get to add a bit of diversity to your edit. Make sure you're getting some really nice detailed close-up shots, and it adds so much interesting movement. If you were to do something like add some speed ramping, this is gonna look absolutely amazing. So something really nice to have in your arsenal, and definitely something that you guys should remember. No matter how many shots you get, or no matter how many cinematic shot ideas you have, sometimes when you get back to the edit, you just didn't capture the perfect one to bring that edit to the next level, or maybe it just doesn't make sense to shoot that shot in particular. Maybe it's a drone shot of a crazy landscape and you just don't have a drone, for example. This is when Storyblocks is gonna really help you out. Storyblocks is an online platform with millions of assets, from stock footage, sound effects, motion graphics, and so much more. They are truly an amazing site, and before you guys are just like, oh, another Storyblocks advert, really hear me out, because Storyblocks is something that I genuinely use and something that I really recommend for creators like you and I. Storyblocks has over 1 million assets on their website, and when you sign up, you pay a small monthly fee and get unlimited downloads, which means you can use as many assets, whether that's stock footage or sound effects or whatever you guys need, in your videos for that one small monthly fee. If you guys aren't already signed up for Storyblocks, I really do think that you're missing out. It's something that I use myself a lot, and it's something that can really help creators. So it's going to be linked down in the description. Head over to the website and check out what it's all about. Let's get on to that next shot though. For our fourth shot, I'm going to be getting a reveal shot, and basically what I mean by this is I'm going to start my shot that's blocked out by something, whether that's foreground, something like a tree. In this particular example, I'm going to be using these bushes, and I'm going to slowly shift the camera out from behind that foreground and reveal whatever that is that you want to reveal. You can do this for a subject or a location. So let's get Hannah walking out there on the log and we can set up our shot. You guys might need to switch your camera over into manual focus. I'll set my focus for the subject being down there, and then I'll dip my camera behind the foreground, and when I reveal it out like that, I know that my subject is going to be perfectly crispy and in focus. And good. Okay. You can use a reveal shot in so many different scenarios. Something like this to show a model, maybe you're changing locations and you want to start that angle from behind something and reveal this beautiful new location that you're at, and one you should definitely have in your little bag of shot tricks to do. This last shot, we are going to be doing what's known as rack focusing, and that's basically where you change your focus from one point of interest to another. And this is a great way that you can control the person that's watching your video's point of interest on the screen. So for example, we are gonna have Hannah down there in the distance, and I can first start out my shot with my focus being on this tree as my foreground, and when the viewer is looking at that frame, that's where they're gonna be looking. And then I can manually change my focus, which is known as racking focus, to Hannah the subject down there. And as I do that, the viewer's attention to the screen is gonna be forced to be shifted to there. So I can shift those focuses between any subjects that I want the viewer to be looking at and to be noticing, and force them to shift their attention in that frame to the different parts that I want them to be looking at. We're gonna be right here and shooting through this foreground. This one can sometimes be tricky to nail your focus, because your subject, especially when it's moving like we're gonna have with Hannah, you're gonna have to know where to hit that focus and get that second point of focus to be correct. So flip your camera over into manual focus, and you can do a few experiments and see kind of where your focus might be when you do shift it to that subject, and then it's going to make it a little bit easier when you do it for real. You can do really interesting things with racking focus, even things like enhancing your storytelling. For example, if you set up a certain situation, this might be a bit cheesy, but let's say you had a sign saying danger ahead and you had your focus on that, and then you racked focus to someone that was walking past the sign. Maybe they hadn't seen it. That's a way of creating suspense for that audience. You're showing them something that you want them to notice, that danger sign, and then racking your focus to the person and showing that person walking right past that sign. It doesn't just have to be something that's nice to change your focus from your foreground to your subject. If you can try and utilize this in ways to push that story or create suspense for that viewer, it can really be powerful and something that you guys should experiment a little bit with. That's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope that you found some of these shots interesting, and I hope you learned something new. Maybe the next time you're out shooting and you can't seem to think of a shot and you're racking your brain for an idea, you can be like, oh, I saw that shot in Sean's video, let me give that one a go and maybe it will turn out cool. Remember to check out Storyblocks. They are going to be linked down in the description. They truly are an amazing platform for creators like you and I. And if you aren't signed up already, you guys are missing out. Go check it out. That's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.